On today's episode of Time About the Movies, the first Avenger is officially brought to the big screen. And it's literally in the title of the movie. Chris Evans stars as Captain America in his first film in the MCU, the first of several films, and we'll take a look at that. We'll take a look at the second Friends with Benefits comedy of the year, which literally is called Friends with Benefits, and stars the other actress from Black Swan, Mila Kunis, along with Justin Timberlake. And then we'll take a look at Another Earth, a film with Britt Marling as the director, and somebody who probably doesn't get as much attention as she probably does, but she's done a lot more work than you would believe. You haven't really caught up with her work before, but we'll talk about that. 3 films to take a look at today for July 22nd, 2011. This is Time About the Movies.
Whatever happens, stay who you are. Not just a soldier, but a good man.
How do you feel?
It's all right. What do you think?
I think it works.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films that make up July 22nd, 2011. And of course, the biggest one to start off with is Captain America, the First Avenger. Now, this is one of the first Marvel Studios projects that was originally in production. Began production all the way back in 1997. It was supposed to be released by Artisan Entertainment, aka what Lionsgate used to be back in the day. However, there was a lawsuit that wasn't settled until 6 years after that project got first announced. And so then in 2005, Marvel Studios decided to put the money up for themselves, and then eventually got released to Paramount Pictures, and essentially, after Iron Man and Thor, of course, this is where we eventually have found ourselves in the penultimate film before we get to the Avengers the following summer. So is it worth the hype after all this time? Well, let's take a look. A young man, played by Steve Rogers, played by Chris Evans, is given the chance to be the first super soldier when he's given a serum that turns him from his pint-sized self before into a super soldier. In order to stop the Red Skull, played by Hugo Weaving, Rogers, now a super soldier under the name Captain America, teams up with a group of soldiers to take out the Red Skull and his evil plans. You also have Stanley Tucci, Haley Atwell, Tommy Lee Jones, Derek Luke, Sebastian Stan, Neil McDonough, and Toby Jones among the stars of the film. And right off the top of the whole thing, this is easily the best superhero movie of the summer. It beats out Green Lantern, it beats out X-Men First Class, and it beats out Thor. And you can see why right from the get-go. Chris Evans is perfectly casted as this title hero. He's been waiting for a long time to get that chance to shine in a big leading role. You know, he's been in stuff like Not Another Teen Movie. He's been in, what was the other one? Cellular. He was in London. He's been in these little movies that range from somewhat successful to not as successful as he would have it later on down the road. But this is definitely his first film where he gets a real chance to shine in here, and he really is the centerpiece of this movie. When you watch him on screen, you can tell that this guy is 100% game on what he's doing, and he just knocks it out of the park right from the get-go. You got Hugo Weaving, who plays a great Red Skull in here. Of course, Hugo Weaving worked with Joe Johnston, director of this, in The Wolfman the year before, and he was pretty good in that movie overall. And The Wolfman wasn't a great film overall, but let's just say it's certainly better than what we got this past year with 2025's The Wolfman. But going back to Joe Johnston, I mean, he does a fantastic job creating a period piece style movie that, besides the ending, could have easily been released in the 1940s. And I also like the way that he managed to create elements from the previous movies that had come out, Thor and Iron Man. They put them into this movie, and it feels like, even though those films took place much later in the future, you can still see little bits and pieces of elements from those 2 other film series, in Thor and Iron Man, and it plays it out very well here. And if there was some complaints I had about the film, it really is the final ending of the movie, where Captain America realizes that he's been asleep for 70 years and that he's in modern-day New York. Not that it's a bad scene by any means necessary, but it's a relatively short scene. I mean, it's literally like 2-3 minutes. It's like 3 to 5 minutes long, and it feels like it's about 2. I think it's. I need to double check this. Yeah, it's about 3 minutes long, and they haven't set this up as they have it kind of set up as like a mid-credit sequence that we would have today. But no, it's the last bit of the movie. And I don't know, I kind of feel like we needed a little bit of a longer version of that scene. Like, it just feels like they kind of rushed it out at first. But regardless, I still think that's a terrific scene. It's a great way that's represented of, you know, the way that the tone changes. Like, you know, at first Steve thinks he's back in a hospital in 1940s, and then he realizes that something is off and just starts running out and realizes that he's in 2011 New York, where Nick Fury tells him, hey, you've been asleep for 70 years. And of course, Chris Evans is going to look at this new modernized world and be stunned by what he sees. And then Samuel, and it ends on a really kind of downer of a note where, you know, Haley Atwell's character, Peggy Carter, finally is really getting to like Steve Rogers. They're about to go on this, they said they were going to have this date at some point. And then at the end, when he's in 2011, Nick Fury asked him, something wrong, sir? I mean, not just the fact that he's in a different time period, but Chris Evans, his performance of that last line of, you know, I had a date. Like, again, that's why he's so great in this role. He nails every single line that he has in this movie. I mean, he's perfectly casted in here. He does this so well. This is a terrific film. The music overall is really good. This is Alan Silvestri, and it also has a great score by Alan Menken, too. Not a great song by Alan Menken, not the score, but Alan Silvestri does the music for this, and he would later do the Avenger score. But, you know, Alan Menken comes in and does this great song, this really catchy song when Captain America is doing the stage show, Star Spangled Man with a Plan. I mean, you could tell that he was putting his all into that, writing that, and it just works so well to a T. And yeah, the action sequences are very well done. The movie is just such a fun period piece movie. The way they kind of set up the Tesseract for the next movie, I love that scene in particular where, you know, Cap throws the Tesseract off of its thing, and the Red Skull's just like, "What have you done?" And then the Tesseract starts to have these mystical powers showing up, and it basically just sends him to what eventually he'll be in the Infinity War, into this other dimension, but not other dimension, but the place where Gamora and Black Widow die. I can't remember what it was. It's been a while since I've seen Infinity War. Nowhere is what it's called. Knowhere. Yeah, I completely, like I said, it's been a while since I've seen the last two Avengers movies, but I need to get going on that because we got the next one coming up next Christmas. But yeah, I like that. I like that sequence overall. The movie overall is just a good, fun time. It mixes in the comedy nicely. There's lots of fun little gags here and there, fun little jokes here and there, fun little one-liners, like the great moment where the kid, you know, the soldier that kills Stanley Tucci's doctor, you know, Cap goes after him, and there's this great scene where the guy grabs this kid, and he's just like, "I'm gonna throw him in the water, keep you distracted." And the kid's and when Cap's about to go save him, the kid's just like, "Go! I can swim!" Like, stuff like that works overall. This is probably one I watch a lot. Like, it's one of those ones where I watch it over and over again. It's just a good one. It's just one that I keep going back to. And I like the other Captain America movies better, but this is one that I really do like watching over and over again. You could tell that they're putting everything they can into this, ending a slate of some really good MCU movies for this first part of their first phase of their universe, which is going to wrap up with the Avengers, which has a little teaser at the end of the movie for that film in particular, and of course it would lead to something great that we're going to get to in 2012. But this film overall is really good. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. It's one of my favorite movies I like to watch in the MCU. It just shows how good these movies were right from the get-go with Captain America. I mean, all of them have been pretty good. Brave New World might be the weakest one, but it's not a bad movie by any means necessary. It's still a really entertaining film, and I like the transition that they did with that movie. But of all the ones that I like to watch over and over again, Captain America the First Avenger is that one I like to go back to more and more. Every time it's on TV, I pop it on, and I never get tired of it. It's just such a terrific, fun film. It delivers what it promises, and it gets you excited for what the big crossover that they've been promising is coming within the next year. And it's just, what more can you say, man? Captain America, the First Avenger, definitely one of my favorite films in the MCU, no question about it. So there you go. That's my thoughts on Captain America, the First Avenger. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis starring in Friends with Benefits.
Me, I don't like you anymore.
You have like really big eyes, and that freaks me out.
Thank you.
Two friends. I'm emotionally unavailable.
I'm emotionally damaged. I haven't seen you at the meetings.
Do the expected.
No emotions, just sex.
Why can't they figure this out?
Oh, there it goes. Swear.
In the summer's most unexpected comedy.
You guys going out now? It's just sex. That never works.
From the director of Easy A.
Are we getting too old for this?
Is it your special time? They have an app for that. Wait. Nope, good to go.
Friends with Benefits in Lorber.
I still really think it's kind of funny that the two stars from Black Swan, Natalie Portman and Mila Kunis, both had competing Friends with Benefits comedies coming out in this year, and one of them is literally called Friends with Benefits. And yeah, the plot here, let's put it this way. It's No Strings Attached, minus Natalie Portman and Ashton Kutcher, plus Mila Kunis and Justin Timberlake. That's Friends with Benefits for you. Both movies basically have the exact same plot. Justin Timberlake plays this art director for a website that when he's given a new job in New York to be the art director at GQ. And there he meets Mila Kunis, who's a recruiter at a job agency. Both of them have just come out of bad relationships, as you see in that commercial there. Emma Stone breaks up with Justin Timberlake, and Eddie Samberg breaks up with Mila Kunis. And so they decide to have an emotionless and commitment-free just sex relationship. And here's the thing about this particular movie, is like, when it comes to these two movies, No Strings Attached, I think, is the far superior movie, which is hard to believe because it's coming out in January, and usually January is a dumping month. But in this case, January actually had a pretty good Friends with Benefits comedy. I'll give the movie this. There are funny moments in there, and some good dialogue for it, but honestly, I was really bored watching this movie. There are points in this movie where I almost fell asleep when I first saw it. It's because those points were so boring, but I'll give the movie this. The chemistry between Timberlake and Kunis is very well done, and they really, literally do feel like friends who just want to have sex with one another. The dialogue can be very well-written. I mean, well-written. Is it toy boat? Well-written. There we go. And the supporting cast, including Woody Harrelson, Richard Jenkins, Jenna Elfman, Patricia Clarkson, they're doing a pretty good job here. There's actually a couple of pretty good flash mob sequences they did in this film, especially the second one. Like, I know that, like, some of you may not remember when we were on that flash mob boon, and I'm not really much of a flash mob person, but just watching that and seeing the whole thing play out like they do here, it's very well done. And somebody that even, like me, who's not really a big of a fan of that type of stuff, I can still find some enjoyment out of it. But some of the things I didn't like about the movie is that it pretty much is a straight-up ripoff of No Strings Attached, which has a much better it's a much better film that has a better plot execution than this film does. And my biggest problem with the movie is, you know, these two leads talk about bad romantic movie cliches in this movie and how they will never be caught dead doing something like that, and surprise, surprise, they end up doing it at the end of the film. Like, they talk about this type of stuff, and it's just like, you know, there's a way to do this there's a way to do this that's actually funny, and this way just doesn't do it in here. And I'm so sick and tired of the misunderstanding cliche. And it's just like, we don't need to have this in every single movie because it's a waste of time, and it keeps us away from the final climax of the movie. Like, even though I didn't like Just Go With It that much, I'll give it this. I like the end of that movie so much that it didn't do that bullshit where something happens and the two leads have to go their separate ways and spend 10 minutes wondering what they want to do with their life and get better and before getting back together in the end. Just Go With It doesn't do that, and I'll give it that. Even though that's not a great movie, I'll give it that. It had a better ending than this thing does because it just goes on and on and on. It's just like, get on with it, man. Come on. I mean, I can think of a better way to end a romantic comedy without using that cliche. I'm serious, that needs to die like the plague. Think of something new and creative, for God's sakes. And yeah, this has some really good dialogue to it, a couple good funny moments here and there, and some great chemistry between the two leading stars. But honestly, watch No Strings Attached. It's a much better movie, and they have more funny moments in that film than this film does. This one just didn't work for me. And this is directed by Will Gluck, and Will Gluck is not a bad director per se. This is actually probably one of his lesser films he's made as a filmmaker. This one just didn't do it for me. It's just a real dud of a film. I was real disappointed by it. I was expecting so much more from it. So that's Friends with Benefits. So let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, and that is Another Earth.
What's out there?
That's why I'm a girl.
So in this movie, tragedy connects a young woman and a shattered music professor as an exact replica of Earth is discovered. And that's pretty much all I can give you, because the rest of the plot here would be spoiling the movie. Let's talk about this actress, Britt Marley, because she's kind of interesting. She's been around for about 20 years now. And this was the first time that a lot of people really recognized her in anything, because, you know, she had done this, and then later in the year she would do The Sound of My Voice and also The East. And then she'd be doing these little these big indie projects, and never got a chance to do anything really big until very late into the decade with Netflix's The OA, and then later, and just recently she did Hulu's A Murder at the End of the World, which I thought was actually really good. I had never seen her movies before this point, and so I got a chance to check them out, and I gotta say, Another Earth actually is kind of a pretty underrated little gem of a movie. This is a film that is very well put together. Visually, it looks impressive for the little budget that it had. It only had a $100,000 budget for this, and director Mike Cahill does a pretty good job of putting this together and creating a visual-looking film that is very impressive to look at. You also have Robin Lord Taylor, who would later go on to star as Oswald Cobblepot in the series Gotham. William Mapplethorpe, who does a pretty good job playing John Burroughs. The casting overall is pretty solid, and the film is very impressive and beautiful to look at. That great scene of Britt Marlick's character looking at this other Earth in the sky. I mean, it's a really impressive looking film in general, and I think it is a very solid film overall. Sometimes it can get a little too pretentious for its own good, but never to the point where it gets boring. It's not like a what was one movie? Terrence Malick's most recent film, The Tree of Life. It's kind of on that level, The Tree of Life, in a way. That's the kind, this. It's definitely in that type of a category of a film, and not like the other pretentious Terrence Malick movies he would do later on down the road. This is a film that is very much an impressive feat to look at overall. It really does keep your eyes onto the screen and keep you invested in the story going on. I think it's a terrific film. I think it's a very impressively made film. Definitely a very underrated film indeed. One you should definitely check out. So yeah, I highly recommend checking out Another Earth. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll wrap up July with 4 new releases, including Jon Favreau's follow-up to the Iron Man films, Cowboys and Aliens, with Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford among its cast. Roger Gosling's back, destroying another 80s treasure of most people's. He ruined Scooby-Doo, which was past 80s, but you get the idea. A classic television series from director Roger Gosling, who of course is going to find a way to screw it up, and he does it again with the Smurfs, although, believe it or not, I would rather take this than the most recent Smurfs movie we got, and that says a lot, but I'll explain on this show tomorrow. But we also have Steve Carell, Marissa Tomei, Julianne Moore, Emma Stone, and Ryan Gosling in the ensemble dramedy Crazy Stupid Love. And last but not least, we have Attack the Block, featuring a young John Boyega, directed by, why am I forgetting his name? Joe Cornish. Joe Cornish. My God. But hey, you got to see Jodie Whittaker, future Doctor Who, in this movie, along with Nick Frost. So, 4 films to take a look at next time around. We will take a look at those films coming up on the next episode. So until then, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. And don't forget to check out the playlist, and also don't forget to check out the last episode we did. Whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.